on the minerals work really, really well to detox the body, both of pathogens, um, chemicals, but also calcification.
Mm.
Yeah,
Which is a huge part, both for neurons and arteries.
correct.
So this just opens the door. We need to talk about this product that you've brought into the United States now.
Okay,
It's called Salt of the Earth.
that's correct. Yeah, we call it salt of the earth. In Japan, where it was invented, it's called Themarox.
Okay.
So we import it into the United States. It's been imported here for a little over 20 years, but it was invented by a man named Shimonishi Asao in 1969, and he's a biochemist, and he was tasked with figuring out how to clean nuclear waste water.
Which is like the stuff they buried down deep in the desert in Nevada.
Correct. Yeah. They actually used the mineral, and it does do that, by the way. They actually used the minerals at Fukushima
Gotcha.
back in 2011 to clean up. So, I mean, that in itself is kind of amazing that we can neutralize nuclear waste. And I never hear anybody talk about that.
No.
Never. Everybody, I think, is under the assumption that there's nothing that you can do about it.
So tell us about this product. What is it?
So it is it's a mineral solution. It's a solution of ionic sulfate minerals, and they are derived from black mica or biotite. It's probably better known as biotite, also known as black mica. And Shimonishi, like I said, he was tasked with figuring out how to clean this nuclear wastewater. And he was meditating one day on the beach in Japan, and he saw a tree growing on a rock island out in just off the coast. And he asked himself, well, how is that possible? How can a tree grow on a rock? So he investigated that process, and essentially what we're discussing here is biomimicry. He took what he saw happening in nature, how the Father created everything to work, and he mimicked that, is what he did. So he figured out how that process actually works, and then he figured out how to do that outside of
Reverse engineer.
reverse engineer, biomimicry. Right, yeah, he reverse engineered the Father's creation.
So what did he do?
So it is a patented process. And I don't want to get too esoteric here, but it's also now a chemical process. It's made by believers, the people that actually, in fact, Shimonishi said, if you're working with these minerals, you're working with the angels. That's what he believed. That's what he believed. And interestingly enough, if you're involved with these minerals and your heart is not in the right place, you just get sort of spit out.
What do you mean by that?
Well, there's been people that have gotten involved with these minerals on different levels that were greedy, manipulative, lifestyles were way out of whack, and they didn't last. They don't last. They just get spit out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go into the process. What do you mean by these minerals?
Well, so it's a black mica extract. So black mica is the most mineral rich rock that we know of, that we've found, and it comes from the volcanic process, specifically from the mafic process. There's the felsic, and then there's the mafic. The mafic is the lava that you see. The felsic is that white cloud ash that comes out of the tops of volcanoes, which is essentially mineralless. It's like silica and aluminum. But the lava, which turns into black mica, is very rich in minerals. But they're not exactly in the proper state in that form. So how do we extract those minerals in a form that the body uses, which is a sulfate form.
Okay.
Sulfate.
So
negatively charged, ionic,
yeah,
electric,
yeah,
bioelectric.
they have a charge.
They're electric. Yes.
Yeah.
They have a charge.
So for example, on Hawaii, when they have an eruption and they have all this lava that flows, within sometimes months, you will see growth on that rock.
Correct.
Yes. The life enters into that new rock, and you're thinking, how does a seed grow on stone? But it does. It becomes. That's why the islands are so lush.
Yes, that's exactly what Shimonishi saw, and he says, "Why is that? How does that work?" And so he created a process which involves heat, acid, electricity, and water. But again, I don't want to get too esoteric. When I say it's an alchemical process, there's a sublimation that happens, and the alchemists use that word. What it means is, if you're trying to make this product, right, and your heart is not pure, you will not end up with what you want.
So
there's literally
frequency, tone.
Yes, it's frequency.
All right. So my wife and I went to Costa Rica.
Sure.
Recently, and we decided to go to one of the hot springs there, and there was a ton of people there, and my wife was sitting there and just kind of playing with the sand and all that. Well, later that night, especially her, she got violently sick.
Wow.
So I'm just wondering if we caused something by playing with the sand, or if we've got something going on with the angels that they didn't like us for that deal, or, I mean,
with the sand.
Well, like the volcanic.
The volcanic.
Yeah, she was.
That could have been a detox.
Well,
it could have been a detox process.
Really.
Yeah. So these minerals, not only can you purify water, remineralize water, restructure water, but you can also bathe in it.
Yeah.
And if you bathe in it, it'll actually get into your bones within seconds.
Yeah.
The body just absorbs it. You'll find it in the bones within seconds.
Wow.
But she may have been dealing with a detox process. She may have gotten those minerals in her body, and there wasn't enough water, which is the highway, to carry those toxins out, or she detoxed too fast where her body systems couldn't handle the level of detox. I'm not saying that's what happened, but
it sure makes sense, because it was
what happened.
It was very like food poisoning, but the timing with when we ate and all that was too off to be food poisoning.
Sure. Yeah.
And so she got in line and was reading, and they say, and one of the first things they say is, don't filter the through your hands. You don't stir it up.
Interesting.
In those springs.
Wow.
Just sit in them.
So springs used to be a huge deal. People used to go. In fact, just north of where we're at in Kansas City, there's a place called Excelsior Springs, and they have these baths, or at least they used to. They may have them still, but the Elms Hotel there would have these baths where you could go sit in different concentrations of different minerals, because they had those there,
right?
And people would go there for healing.
Yes, there was 22. And 2 of them were ferric iron springs, and there was the only 2 in the world. But they're all gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all gone now. In fact, Florida used to have just hundreds of living springs. They are no more. Now, why is that? I don't know, but I know that springs across the world are disappearing. Is it from fracking? Is it from, I don't know what it's from, but I know that they're disappearing. In fact, I used to drive 2.5 hours to Wamego.
Oh yeah.
To get my spring water. And I would start with that. I stopped doing that, but essentially what you're ending up with when you use the minerals is the best spring water in the world.
There you go.
It's
So so I've seen this in real life action, because I've been using the minerals for 9 months now. I don't know how long in my home. And what do I see? if we have a rather robust filtering system, whole house filtering system that I installed. I wanted good quality water. In fact, we go through this initial process for all the city water that comes in, and then at the tap at the kitchen sink we have reuse reverse osmosis to get our water that we drink, and then I add the minerals to it.
Right.
So we actually get in with your product, you get a lot of miles out of the bottle, if you will. You get 500 gallons out of reverse osmosis or
if you so a 32-ounce bottle of salt of the earth will purify, mineralize, and restructure 250 gallons of tap water. But distilled water or RO water, it will do 500.
Yeah.
Because it's not cleaning the water. You're just mineralizing it and structuring it. So if you have a way to clean your water to get the majority of what's in there out of it, that's probably the best way to go about it.
Yeah. And like in Canada, this is actually a purification. It's certified to be.
It is. And when you said anemia, it's with the alligators, it clicked. Well, it's certified. It's licensed as a treatment for anemia in Canada.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah. It's just the thing that we require for our life, we treat so allopathically.
Symptoms.
Yeah.
Symptoms instead of core cause.
And it's used more as a commodity for business than as a commodity for life.
100%. 100%.
So if the people that are going to the store and buying bottled water as a solution not to drink tap water, is that doing anything other than making them feel better, or is it really doing something?
Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. With bottled water, you don't necessarily know what you're getting.
Right.
There is one brand of bottled water that I feel okay about, and it's Mountain Valley, and it comes out of Arkansas, and all they do to it is run it through infrared at the source. Other than that, it goes straight in the bottle. I've been down there. I've tested the water. It's a good water. But other than that, I mean, like Aquafina or,
they're just,
they literally could be tap water because there's no real regulations around it, right? You have no idea what you're getting. And if you're drinking distilled and you're drinking RO, yes, it may not have all these toxins and pathogens in them, but it's dead water, right? So what it's gonna do is it's gonna rob your body of the minerals, because the water has to have the minerals in order to do what it does, right? But another thing I'd like to talk about is this idea of fourth phase water. So we know that water can be a gas, a solid, or a liquid, but there's a fourth phase that was discovered by Gerald Pollack, and essentially what it is it's what you find in the mitochondrial DNA, which is H3O2 instead of H2O. So it's got an extra hydrogen molecule and an extra oxygen molecule. And that process to turn it into that fourth phase of water, or they call exclusion zone or EZ water, takes about 21 to 28 days in the body to make the kind of water that your mitochondrial DNA wants. So if you're not drinking mineralized water, it's really difficult to get hydrated. But if you're drinking mineralized water, and so that's one of the things these minerals do, is it creates this fourth phase of water, right? So you're actually consuming what your mitochondrial, what you find in the cell, the liquid you find in the cell. So getting hydrated, you stay hydrated and you get hydrated quickly. And if you're not drinking mineral rich water, like if you know people who drink a lot of distilled water, they drink a lot of water.
They have to overhydrate.
Overhydrate, and they're just constantly urinating.
Yeah, and overhydration isn't the correct term because they're actually dehydrated.